Hello everyone and welcome back to Stranger Games. Today's special topic is none other than horror games, based on real-life massacres. I think horror doesn't truly become horrifying until it's accompanied by the words, based on a true story. Boom! A true horror game does exist. And the horror games I'm about to mention are all based on real-life atrocities. Someone can't sleep tonight. JKD, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released in 1983 for the Atari 2600 console. Both the game and the film of the same name, released in 1974, were inspired by the notorious murders committed by the serial killer Ed Gein. Although nowadays few people are interested in this game due to its somewhat rudimentary graphics, learning about the story that inspired the game is quite fascinating. In the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, players take on the role of Leatherface, a terrifying serial killer armed with a chainsaw. This character is inspired by the infamous Ed Gein himself. Born in a remote village in Wisconsin, Gein had an unhappy childhood, raised by a mother who held hostile attitudes towards women. As a result, from a young age, Gein was influenced by deviant thoughts and obsessions about women. During his adolescence, Gein escalated to robbing graves of young women and bringing them home for anatomical experiments. Gradually consumed by the teachings of his mother, he began to target women of his mother's age range. When his home was searched, the police found truly horrifying evidence, such as bowls made from women's skulls, lampshades made from human skin, and a pair of lips hanging from a window shade cord. Despite his heinous crimes, Ed Gein was fortunate to avoid the death penalty due to being declared legally insane. He died in prison in 1984 due to heart failure. The Town of Light. The Town of Light is set in Ospedale Psichiatrico di Volterra, a psychiatric hospital in Tuscany, Italy. Playing as Renee, a former patient of the hospital in the 1930s, players will explore the life surrounding this horrific institution. In reality, this hospital was closed in 1978 due to treatment methods deemed excessively cruel to its 6,000 patients. For local residents, it was dubbed as the place of no return, because many people sent there for mental illness treatment never returned home. The main character, Renee herself, is a real person who even revisited the old hospital to support the development team of this game. Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. Playing as Sherlock Holmes or Dr. John Watson, your mission is to investigate the murders in Victorian England committed by the infamous Jack the Ripper. In the 1880s, the name Jack the Ripper struck fear into the hearts of Londoners and was a source of embarrassment for the British police as he brutally killed 11 victims, mostly women. However, his true identity remains a mystery. The real victims of Jack the Ripper appear in the game, such as Annie Chapman, who was found dead with her throat slashed and her internal organs almost entirely removed. Although Sherlock Holmes may be a fictional character, Jack the Ripper and the unfortunate victims of the villain in the game are all based on reality. Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame is set in the Himuro Mansion, where a girl named Miku Hinasaki must go to investigate the disappearance of her brother. The Himuro Mansion is a real location in Japan and is considered the site of one of the largest mass murders in the country's history. 7 people are believed to have died due to a strange and mysterious ritual. One of these rituals is called the strangling ritual, where a young girl is bound by ropes to her limbs and pulled until they are torn from her body, similar to the concept of drawn and quartered that we often hear about. It is believed that this ritual would seal the souls of demons away from the house. Playing Fatal Frame gives players the opportunity to delve deep into these rituals. Kholat. Inspired by the Dyatlov Pass incident in 1959, where a group of 9 people mysteriously died in the Ural Mountains of Russia. To this day, no one knows what happened that caused all 9 people, mostly students, to perish. Some speculate it was an avalanche, while others believe the Russian Yeti attacked them, but why their tongues and eyes were missing remains a mystery. The storyline of Kholat is based on this incident, where players are thrown into the Kholat mountain range and forced to uncover the truth by exploring information and completing tasks in the game. Masokisia. Albert Fish is one of the most notorious serial killers in American criminal history. He was once known as the Gray Killer, Grizzly Man, or Brooklyn Vampire for raping and cannibalizing up to 100 children. Albert Fish was born in 1870 into an unusual family. His parents were 43 years apart. Not only that, his father also had a history of mental illness. His mother suffered from delusional disorder. His uncle was crazy. An older brother was locked up in a mental institution, and his sister was also diagnosed with a neurological disorder. After his father died, Fish was sent by his mother to St. John's Relief Camp, where he was often sexually abused. Living there until he was 10, Fish found a stable job when his mother came to take him out of that dark place. At age 12, Fish began a deviant relationship with a telegraph boy. From then on, he regularly went to public bathrooms to stalk naked boys and wrote sexually explicit letters to girls who left their addresses on marriage matchmaking websites. In 1890, Fish went to New York to work as a male prostitute and hunted down boys to rape. In 1898, he married a wife 9 years younger than him and later had 6 children. During this time, Fish continued to sexually abuse children. The victims were often boys under 6 years old. Perhaps the turning point that completely ruined his life was when his wife left him, leaving him with 6 young children. From then on, he liked to torture himself and became obsessed with raw meat, even leaving whole chunks of raw meat for his children to eat. When arrested, he confessed to having raped and murdered hundreds of children. In the end, Fish received the death penalty in the electric chair, paying the price for the barbaric crime he committed. Massakesia will let players take on the role of young Albert Fish. However, the game will delve deeper into exploring the murderer's twisted psychology and ideology since he was a child, instead of just focusing on bloody scenes. Lizzie Borden, the PC game. This first-person game is inspired by the case of Lizzie Borden, the woman accused of murdering both her biological father and stepmother with an axe. One day in early August 1892, the Borden family was in turmoil when they discovered that Mr. Andrew Borden and his wife Abby were both murdered with many axe cuts on their bodies. According to the investigation, the police suspected the culprit was the youngest daughter, Lizzie Borden, but could not find evidence to incriminate her. Previously, the Borden family had a conflict over property division. In anger, Mr. Borden beheaded several birds that Lizzie raised. The police also discovered many holes in the alibi that Lizzie provided, but in the end, she was still found innocent and released. The culprit is believed to be another person who successfully escaped. After the case, the Borden sisters inherited and bought a luxury house. Lizzie worked in the singing field and passed away in 1927 at the age of 67. Lizzie Borden. The PC game sounded very promising, but unfortunately the game was abandoned midway, making fans extremely regretful because they could not play the game. Stairs. The horror game Stairs puts players in the role of an investigative journalist who decides to uncover the truth about the strange, unexplained disappearance of 3 people in the neighborhood. The game is said to be inspired by the Donner Party event as well as the chainsaw massacre of notorious murderer Ed Gein. For details about Ed Gein, readers can read Part 1. As for the Donner Party, for those who don't know, it refers to a group of 90 people on their way to California who became trapped in the snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains in 1846. Led by brothers Jacob and George Donner, the group chose to take a shortcut to California, and disaster happened. Isolated in harsh conditions, half of them died of starvation while the rest turned to cannibalism to survive. After being rescued, their story quickly spread, and soon the term Donner Party or Donner Party was used to refer to cannibals to survive. Never-Ending Nightmares. This is a game built from the developer's own experiences. Never-Ending Nightmares seems a bit out of place in this list because it does not mention any massacres, but the level of horror is not average. The main developer of Never-Ending Nightmares, Matt Gilgenbach, once faced obsessive-compulsive disorder and severe depression. Just like the title, players are trapped in a never-ending nightmare. It's like a cyclical loop. One attack has not passed yet, another has arrived. The twisted thoughts, compulsive worries, and mental oppression that Matt Gilgenbach experiences are fully portrayed in this game. From the endless hallways, the haunting cry of his grandfather's clock to the bloody axe, many details in the game are directly inspired by Matt Gilgenbach's old illness. No. 70. Eye of Basir. The game takes players into an investigation of the main character's childhood home after his grandmother passed away. Aras and Erhan spent their childhood with their grandmother in house number 70, where mysterious things happened that no one could explain. Objects in the house often change position. Sometimes mysterious dark shadows pass through the window. One day, when Aras passed by her room, he saw a small chest. He was about to open it, but was caught by his grandmother. She got angry and hit Aras's arm. She had never been so angry, and from then on, he never saw that chest again. After their grandmother passed away, Aras and Erhan parted ways, each with their own lives. 20 years have passed since that day. Erhan has become a famous archaeologist, and Aras is the creative director. One morning, Erhan realizes something is wrong, and while trying to figure it out, he mysteriously disappears. Aras did not receive any news from Erhan for a long time, then decided to find out everything. Volkan Demir, game director, said, "The spooky things that happen in house number 70 are extremely familiar to everyone. The game is based on real events that have been passed down for decades. Have you been scared yet? Because I'm not." Anyways, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to us. Leave a comment letting us know what you think. Stranger Games, signing off. Goodbye and see you in the next video.